The first Data Futurology event next year is going to be Ops World, data-centric operations for business value. We're going to be hosting the community in person at the Sofitel Wentworth in Sydney on March 14th and 15th. We're going to be discussing operationalizing securely for business value, impact, and scale. What are we operationalizing? Everything across the data analytics and AI space. We're bringing all the ops perspectives together into this one event. So it's going to be data ops, operationalizing data pipelines, analytics ops, operationalizing our analytics, MLOps, and AI ops, about operationalizing machine learning and artificial intelligence in our businesses. We're going to be discussing processes, frameworks, the observability, and the future of this space. Check out the website for more and hope to see you there.
I'd like to say a big thank you to our sponsors, Talent Insights. Talent Insights are Australia's leading specialist data recruitment business. With offices in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, they're experts at providing recruitment strategy and building data teams for clients across industries Australia-wide. They provide recruitment solutions for all roles across the data lifecycle, including data engineering, data science, advanced analytics, customer and marketing insights, business intelligence, data product managers, and data governance. They're skilled at finding the best permanent and contract hires for your business needs, as well as statement of work, project focus, data resources. At Talent Insights, relationships matter most. I can say from first-hand experience, Talent Insights are fantastic to work with. Whether you're a business leader within an HR network or a specialist data candidate, Talent Insights should be the first company you turn to for all your data recruitment needs. Find them at talentinsights.com.au.
Hi, and welcome to Data Futurology. This is Felipe Flores, and today we have an extremely exciting episode. We're going to be discussing the role of a CTO in the future of data analytics and AI in organizations. And for that, I have a wonderful guest. I couldn't think of anyone better. Nastaran Bisheban. She is the Chief Technology Officer at KFC in Canada. Nastaran, thank you so much for making the time. How are you doing today?
Pleasure to be here. I'm very good, thank you.
And I thought we could kick off by asking you to give us a little bit about your role at the moment and your remit, and then we can jump off from there.
Of course. I have the pleasure and privilege of running the technology ecosystem for KFC Canada. It includes, but not limited to, all the systems and applications that we have, along with the integration of all of the systems and applications to our data system, our security, our infrastructure, and in general, the ecosystem of our restaurant technology and marketing technology that will bring everything home.
Amazing. And a big component of supply chain in there. I'm sure that it would be such a broad remit to get all the different parts of the business working cohesively from a digital and technology perspective, so everyone can enjoy the food every day.
Hopefully that's the case, and more we feel the royal we technologists feel more and more like a gel that sits between the multiple different functions and connects them to the best of efficient way.
Amazing. And could you tell us a little bit about your technical vision and your strategy for driving the data-driven enterprise in your role as a CTO?
It's a very simple principle that I follow. For serving better our customer and for making a better efficient ecosystem for our restaurant team members, we do need to follow where the problem is and continue to fixing it. And to do so, we do need to have an eye to the system. And for the lack of a better term, for the past decades, we have been calling it data. So data is pointing us to where there is opportunity for being better or for growing more. And that's what we are following, both from our customer perspective and from our restaurant team members.
Amazing. And what does that look like when you say following the data, what does that look like? Either from the team's perspective or from a business perspective, what are the types of either projects or initiatives that get done to follow the data?
The most important part is for us to be a good listener.
Mm-hmm.
And the good listener is the one that actually captures the right data, that there is no, okay, so what? We have collected all of this data. Now what? So it is important from the very beginning, we listen properly to where the problem and where the opportunities are. For instance, when it comes to our customer, the feedback that they are providing, the responses that they have to any new product that we are introducing to the market, do they like it? Are they purchasing it? Are they returning for it? So those are all good listening activities that we have incorporated in the form of capturing the information and data from our customer. And from our restaurant team members' perspective is listening to them. What are the areas that their life is not as simple as it can be? We normally are crippled by complexity and non-standard, and so many areas that at the beginning might look like very simple to fix, but as you go to deep dive, you will notice what are the interwoven complexity. And the key here is not to be scared of that complexity at the surface level and start doing the fix. So for instance, in the beginning of digital transformation, all of our restaurants were immediately onboarded with so many of the aggregators. Uber Eats, DoorDash, Skip the Dishes, you name it. There is a aggregator. Our restaurant were connected. This came with a complexity in addition to the day-to-day activity. Previously, our team members were used to, have a couple of cash register in the restaurant and at the same time, maybe a drive-through. But now there is a tablet beeping for Uber. There is a tablet calling for the Skip. There is a beep coming from our website. There is another thing coming from someone that it is ordering ahead and picking it up. So all of this added to the complexity and made the life of our restaurant team members very difficult. The first and utmost action that we have took was to actually integrate all of this. Instead of having 5, 6, 10 different kind of tablets and point of reference to come, have them all to come through the POS. These are the actions that we are listening to our restaurant team members and taking action based on how we can make their life easier.
I love that. I love those examples, and they're phenomenal. Just focusing on the humans, on the people, on their needs, and listening. I love it as a principle, because there's so many areas in life where the right data isn't being captured, and that's sometimes overlooked, and then there's situations, and I've been in these myself, where sometimes we're trying to make decisions with the data that we have instead of going back and getting the right data, and you prioritize that through listening. I love it. That's amazing.
You've pointed to something actually very interesting. The data that we have sometimes can become a liability. We collect the data as an asset, but that data can become a liability if we are not using it properly and we are not taking care of it properly as a custodian of the data. Because at the end of the day, the true owner of the data is the one that it is being collected from. So we are all custodians.
Yes, exactly. Yes, and oftentimes the data was captured for largely most industries for financial reasons, to get a payment, to pay someone, and then as the industries have evolved, then we start to try to use that to draw customer insights, and there's usually a gap in what we should be capturing and to be able to do the best job for our customers that we can do. So having that front of mind in the way that you described I love it. I love it. That is excellent. Could you tell us a little bit about how you've been able to leverage AI or machine learning to unlock innovation at KFC in Canada?
Using AI where human has a constraint. That's the sole purpose of the AI. And that comes when we have this pile and pile of the data that needs to have a specific niche information to be collected from it. And it can truly get lost in the sea of the data that we have. That's where we are leveraging AI. For instance, in a daily feeds of restaurant information that it is coming our way, if we are seeing anomaly, if we are seeing stuff that normally with a human eye is not possible, those are where we are, one of the places that we are leveraging AI to let us know the areas that might become our blind spot. For instance, one feed from a restaurant might show every day at specific time, there is no order coming from our mobile app. For a period of the day, this is repeated. So there is a follow-up then with a human that is seeing those to go to that restaurant and say, is there any issue? How can we help? And all of a sudden, you will notice that within that period, for instance, they were short on staff. They had to turn off the mobile order for that period of the time. So then comes helping the restaurant to make sure that they are right as staffed and everything else. This is one example of many that finding anomaly is AI and machine learning is helping us to be better serving our franchisees and restaurants.
What a great example to be augmenting the organizational intelligence by having essentially these almost like little bots looking out for anomalies and changes in pattern and alerting. So then the people can manage by exception, and if nothing's raised, then things are looking good. And when things are raised, then trigger the actions to make the improvements. That, as you said, it could be more staff, more training, more support, understanding what it is that people need. I really love your human focus.
And that's really the key. It has been a very eye-opening for me in the past decade. The transition of the mindset that it is long past the time that it was about technology. It's not about technology anymore. It's not about data. It's not about any of this, but it is about the technologists. It's about the human side of the technology. And companies that have been wise enough to actually follow this path are seeing the fruit of this labor as when you serve the human better and different, then there is a repeat, then there is a want more, and there is a growth, and everything else will come with it. So really putting the focus of the limited resources available on where does that matter the most.
It's really inspiring to hear that focus, because a lot of people in technical roles, and definitely including technical leadership, we often feel like the expectation is for us to be technical, to focus on the technology, to focus on the data, and to almost at the expense of everything else or of other things. And sometimes that seems to be the momentum of organizations for people in these roles to have a technology and data focus. What I guess maybe first for yourself, did you have a point in your career which you transitioned to expanding your focus to this more human aspect, and or if not, then what can you say? What would be your advice for people that want to make this transition?
This understanding came to me when I was lucky to be introduced to the principle of Agile, to the principle of continuous improvement. That's where the light bulb came out, that you will see, instead of putting your focus 100% of this is the problem, this is the requirement, build the requirement to the core before you start actually giving any benefit, and comparing it with small portion of a continuous improvement, I can keep my customer, my audience, 5% feeling happier, 10% feeling happier, as opposed to having them wait for a longer period to get maybe a 50-70% of the things that they were looking for. So for me, the focus on human side and what we are giving them back actually started with paying more attention and being trained by the principle of Agile and continuous improvement.
Great. So that continual delivery of value led to a greater focus on the human side of what people need. That's phenomenal. Thank you. I wanted to ask you, could you give us some examples of how you align the business strategy with data-driven development to drive growth in the organization?
Well, I wouldn't claim I have done that, but I will actually challenge anyone that says they have a holy grail of how to coordinate all of this and have everyone 100% aligned on that. I would love to hear them, and I would love to see how they have done this. It's not something that cannot be done. It's the nature of a slight difference when it comes to the scope and agenda. Mm-hmm. Think of it as we are all running towards the same goal, but we all have a different tools and we have all different intervals to get to that end goal. This means the coordination and collaboration between all of this become an art. And I do truly believe that the data focus can help achieve this collaboration and alignment in a very different way. How? When you have the outcome of clearly showing, based on the fact and the data, the changes that are being applied, either in growth engine, either in making keep the light on engine, all of them with a fact-checked and fact-based data, then there is very limited area of the error that you can actually put subjective mind behind it. Mm-hmm. However, the best data ecosystem is still at the mercy of a data scientist, at the mercy of a technologist, a human behind it, to use that data and go through it. That's where it is very important for all the functions to actually learn a little bit about each other and see how the challenge, how the day-to-day activity is happening. So as they are building this synergy towards the same strategy and tactic, they can understand each other better. So back to paying more attention and focus to the human side of the business.
That's great. That is great. I love the candid nature of your approach and your responses. I think that is liberating for so many people to hear. I'm sure, like, if they feel like it's taking a weight off to be hearing that from you. So thank you so much for sharing that. What do you think are the elements of a good CTO? Like what type of things are the ones that either you've seen be most helpful in your career, or do you see that sometimes holds people back in the development to get to that executive level? What are some of your recommendations in this space?
The concept of a CTO, a chief that is basically responsible for the technology is fairly new comparing to the chief information officer. And nowadays, many companies are using these terms vice versa, and they are interchangeably using these terms, which may be the evolution of the CIO position. Because when you are a CIO and CTO, you are asked to drive the technology with two angles, which is keeping the operation afloat and also build the engine for the growth. And at the same time, know about the business, because you cannot build this stuff without knowing the business. And that's where the double hat of a technologist will come to the picture. So maybe in last 20 years, we could afford to sit in our, team rooms and be only involved with the design of the system, be only involved with working with other technologists. But quite frankly, nowadays, more than 50% of my time is spent outside of a technology quote unquote per se an activity. Well, don't mind me, I still code. I love, and I see that as a therapy perspective, but it is not needed. I'm not sure if anyone wants to put my code in production anymore. That I should say that as a disclaimer, but I still would love to be involved and am involved in the design of our system, integration of our system. So the 50% of you as a technologist will never go away. And that's the base. That's what makes you a good advisor for the rest of the C-suite on how to actually engage with the technology and how to leverage it. But the other 50% is where you learn about the business function. For instance, you are in a retail, learning about the retail. You are in a loyalty, learning about the loyalty. You are in a, space ship building, learn about the spaceship building. So learning about the business is as important as being a technologist in core and knowing and understanding all the detail of it.
And then, so definitely as people develop their technical career, they would naturally have greater interactions with the non-technical sides of the business, and then you're saying that they should seek to understand what's happening on that side, to then be able to, or I guess what should they be looking for, and what does that enable people to do as a result in their jobs?
To learn about the business, learn about the competitors, learn about the area of the growth, how and what does matter. Spend time with your CFOs, spend time with your CMOs. And quite frankly, what personally helped me was getting myself an MBA, learning about how to drive a business growth, because there is no deviation anymore between technology and business. Technology is the business. And for us as technologists to learn to be a better advisor, to be a better driver, to be a better ally for the rest of the functions, this was one of the best things that I have done. Going and getting a official learning of how to run a business. And my advice for people who are aspired to be in this path is you will need to spend as much time with your team as you're spending with your peers and the rest of the C-suites. The time that I spend nowadays with our chief operating officer, with our chief people officer, is nothing less than what I spend with my team in our technology lab, in our innovation lab, and so on. So finding that balance, sometimes it is not the easiest thing, but definitely a very good driver.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So bringing that mindset of identifying the levers. I love that you mentioned understanding the market, the competitors, the consumer trends, and be really like a full rounded business leader that is a technologist at heart, at its core, but to evolve to be a business leader.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and in our organizations, how can we prepare people for that? Do you think that either could be? Do you think we in general, do organizations do a good job of preparing technical people for business roles, and if so, why, or what could we do about it?
Probably not. Probably because we are so focused on functions as a separate accountability, which in many cases it is a right approach, but giving a percentage of time for technologists and the non-technologists to learn about technology. So it is not just one way. And an exchange program has always become a very good approach. For instance, having a technologist just to go and shadow a frontline restaurant owner. Go and spend time in the restaurant, see what they are doing, where are the areas that they hear the applause from the customer, where are the areas that customers are not happy with them. Go in the back and actually fry chicken and see how it works. See how our technology is helping them. Interesting enough, last year we spent a good amount of our time as the C-suite in our restaurant. We have spent a day in, I was in a drive-through trying to punch. And as a result of that, I realized how difficult it is for our frontline in a drive-through to actually find the latest thing. And they are going off by their muscle memory, not because we have made that very beautiful and intuitive. Yeah. As a result of that, staying with the business and staying with the restaurant, a project was initiated to actually clean up all of those, to categorize it, have a different color and everything else. So it is much easier for the person at the front center to find where to punch and where to go.
I love that. That is phenomenal. Yes, definitely. Yeah, that great advice that you can't beat that first-hand experience, and to get in the, in the front line of what the business does. That is phenomenal advice. Thank you. And then as you look to execute the different projects and initiatives throughout the organization, how do you balance the innovation side versus the stability? So as you were saying, the operations of keeping the lights on and then bringing in new areas of development for the organization. How do you strike that balance?
Well, as much as I would love to pretend I have found that balance, I don't believe it is something that we can claim, because operation and keeping the light on always gets the priority. I am building a new innovative thing, but a server is falling. So which one should I go? Of course, we go and save the server. Of course, we will take care of, keep the light on. But it doesn't mean that it needs to be like this forever. When we are planning for annual action, when we are building the strategy for year over year, there is always a percentage that we should keep for the innovation, and actually a percentage for paying back the technical debt. Because the pile up of the technical debt is the biggest killer for any innovation. So people might think this is something, it is working, it is there, but that's exactly that piece of code which has not been cleaned and clear for years is going to be the biggest blockage for your innovation next round. So these all in hand, I would say the rule of 80-20 will be very helpful if we can afford to actually carve out the 20% of the time of the team members to systematically spend time in the labs and spend time in actually clearing the technical debt.
Amazing. And when it comes to clearing out technical debt, how could people choose what areas to focus on, what areas to clean up first? if they get a chance?
Well, I share how we prioritize it. It is mostly risk-based. So if there is a specific function that it is very complex because we had to, for the sake of fast to market, do a specific thing to make sure that we are live with this specific promotion, with this specific way of serving our franchisees and restaurant, then that becomes one of the highest priority because it is making that function, that component of the code, lengthier and more complex when it comes to build, to test, to integrate, and do everything else. So risk-based analysis is the principle we follow to identify the technical debt and returning it. Sometimes low-hanging fruit also play a big deal here. If it is simple and easy to pay the debt faster, we fix that one faster as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. And what advice would you have for people that may face resistance for getting funding for improving technical debt or clearing out technical debt?
No one will ever tell you that we don't want to pay back the debt. But it is always the fact that if it is working, don't touch it. And that's the biggest problem that we are facing. It is working, but at what cost? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Yes.
And God forbid, all it takes is one disaster that shows it was working, but didn't work for a second. And that's the technical debt that if it is piled up, the interest rate will be so high, and the constant doing that analysis for the rest of the function to realize, which interesting enough, I had a situation that my peers came to me and said, we are ready to give our budget to you so you can fix this issue because of the way that now we are seeing what is the risk if we don't do it.
Great. Yeah, I love that approach. Thank you. I wanted to ask you a little bit about the culture and what your views are on the culture that you seek to create and how you go about creating that culture within your teams.
Well, we take a lot of pride at Yum, at KFC, with how we guard our culture. Literally, we guard our culture. Why? Because it is a culture built based on compassion. It's based on understanding and supporting each other. I have been in the industry for the past 30 years, and I can say with the experience, this is by far one of the best culture that I can take pride to say I have been part of. And the core concept behind this beauty is heart-led, driven by heart and matched with the brain. So heart-led leadership is the front and center of the backbone of this culture. And I think that's the reason that we have many, many people with years of a service that are happy and they want to continue and ultimately get retired with us.
Yeah, phenomenal. And sometimes in some organizations that may have good psychological safety in the organization where people feel valued and safe. Sometimes there's difficulties in driving a culture of excellence as well, and having people kind of lean into it and really be ignited to do their best work. How do you guys navigate that those two sides?
I would say we have been lucky to keep trace of startup mindset, entrepreneurship mindset, that people are truly your asset. It is not this big corporate that sees people as numbers. It is a true asset. And you can see that although it is this huge corporate that is across the world with all these numbers of the restaurant and everything else, still when it comes to actually people decision, we act like a startups. We act like this is our family business. And that's how I see people are feeling it in the action and reacting to it.
Great. So yes, definitely, people would feel very valued and very connected to the success of the organization in a way that motivates them to really do their best and go above and beyond. I love that. That is phenomenal. I know we're running low on time. I want to thank you so much, Nastaran, for sharing all your insights, your perspectives, and your approaches. They are really, you just have a wealth of experience, and we have really benefited from hearing about how you approach the role of a CTO and creating a data-driven culture across the enterprise and having the human focus and the business understanding. I think it is phenomenal. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure talking to you, and I hope the audience can actually benefit from this conversation.
100%. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching this video all the way to the end. I hope that you got a lot out of this discussion. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel so more people can find out about the challenges that leaders have in the analytics and AI space. And that's what we're trying to share in Data Futurology. So please like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed today's episode, please tell your friends. Thank you so much.